Well, I'm not too sure. Hopefully, we'll get some sort of living creature not too far from now. But I do agree with Byron. It almost seems like the rain wants to stop. So perhaps we will be able to at least raise some of the side flaps so that we can have a bit of a view onto the sides. Crazy rain. It's almost like also that Byron and I have got the entire Sabi Sand for. Radio is quiet. Nobody's making not even a little bit of noise. It doesn't seem like there are any other cars around. So it's actually a very nice time to be out and about, just to be able to explore when everybody else seems to probably have gone back to the lodge. And I cannot blame them, because it can get very cold if you put your poncho on the wrong way and then carry on with the rain. Now, I am still hoping for Hosanna somewhere around here, but I think it's a long shot. Nigel, you're wondering if we get meerkats in the Kruger. Well, we don't get meerkats in this area because they prefer areas that are a lot drier, more like the desert. So you will get meerkats in other parts of South Africa, like the Kalahari. You will get them there in reserves like Twalu, just in general in areas that are drier. Something very similar to a meerkat in the Kruger, which is the banded mongoose. Acts very similarly, distantly related, but is darker, a lot darker than what the meerkats look like. So also, I would say similar diet, similar habits and social structure, just not exactly a meerkat. So it would be interesting to find out where the Lion King got the idea that a Pumba and a meerkat could be friends. Maybe they went all the way to Namibia or to the Kalahari. Alright, I feel like I'm doing some exercise for the morning, because did an exercise today, but I'm getting up for it now.
Well, unfortunately, it sounds like Ali has got some gremlins, and well, you can see I have ditched Jigger because Jigger has made me sopping wet, as you can see by my soggy shoes and my soggy pants. So I am now very, very wet, and I've now put myself into the tent. Well, I'm actually outside the tent because, can you believe it? It has stopped raining, which is pretty special and really quite nice, because I was tired of being hit by water this afternoon. Now, we're going to try and see what we can scrounge around in the tent. We've just got here. We've just opened everything up. So I haven't really had a chance. What's this for?
Lens, please.
Lens. Okay, hold on, everybody. I'm going to wipe. Am I doing a good job, Fergus?
Very good.
I like the color of your cloth, Fergus. Very, very, very good. It looks perfect. Now, I wish you could see Fergus, actually, because maybe I'll show you him just now. He's holding a pink cloth, a umbrella, and a camera at the same time, and he's still filming me, which is quite something. So well done, Fergus. Round of applause. You are Mary Poppins today, that's for sure, and you certainly are doing everything that Mary Poppins could do and more. Hopefully you'll bust out a song later as well, and we'll see how that goes. Anyway, like I said, we've just got here, so we're going to try and scrounge around, see what we can find, see what's happening. I did hear an elephant grumbling very close by, so maybe Daryl is around. We know Daryl's been up to all kinds of shenanigans in the last few days, and I believe today, this afternoon at the dam cam, he was just up to his absolute best self, throwing things all over the place and having a really good time. There's also a couple Nyala and Impala that were hanging around down towards the range. In fact, I can see one or two Impalas that are just stuck through the bushes there. They hopefully will come up this way as they make their way down towards quarantine in order to get out of the thickets before the night closes in. At the end of the day, you don't want to be an Impala or a Nyala or any sort of antelope that is edible in these thickets in stormy weather like this. It's going to mean predators are going to be on the prowl, as we've seen with Tundi, and so most of them will try and get into the open areas that is quarantine. Now, while I'm talking about predators and hunting and those kind of things, I'm sure many of you will be glad to know that Tingana, after we saw him, managed to find himself a meal. It's not a substantial meal, but he caught himself a rather large monitor lizard. I believe the monitor lizard was over a meter long, and so it will be at least some semblance of protein that he's going to get and some nutrients. And we know that Hosanna, Shongile, Vatumi, all of these younger leopards have managed to survive on reptilian prey, and maybe that will just be enough to get him through this sick period. It's interesting, though, I've seen a number of different male leopards that have done this when they start to feel a little ill and start to get a bit sick. Mafufanyan, Tyson, Tingana now, Mvula, they start turning to really unusual prey, and in particular the reptiles. So you see them going after slow-moving monitor lizards quite regularly, and they use them. Now there's a little crack of lightning above us, which hopefully will disappear, and you can hear a few rumbles of thunder as well. Also, when we left Chitwa, I was saying that we were going to try and find another male leopard that had crossed towards Chitwa Dam. It was found just as we were leaving Chitwa, but unfortunately without our comms and without sort of the audio that we wanted and our feed being a bit glitchy, we decided we couldn't go back there. But it sounded like maybe Hosanna. I wasn't 100% sure. I couldn't hear very nicely, but it sounded like Hosanna up in a tree on the Chitwa Little Gowrie cut line as well. So lots of leopards out and about, and just goes to show you, sometimes even in the worst weather like this rain, you can get things like leopards moving about, and they'll use it to their advantage to be able to hunt. Cool. I'm going to see what I can find, scrounge around, check what's happening around us, and while I do that, let's send you back across to Byron, who I believe is also just bumbling about, and hopefully he'll have some luck and bump into something else.
Well, I've got something to show you. It's a white-backed vulture sitting up in a tree and trying to kind of hold out the what's the word? I've hit a blank. It's trying to stay dry. It's not going to. It's very wet. I don't know what to do now, everyone. I'm soaked. It's a bit chilly. And there's now thunder and lightning around, which is lovely. It's awesome to see. That white-backed vulture, I think, just obviously with it raining, it's just going to sit there. It's going to wait till tomorrow, and hopefully tomorrow it clears up, and then that vulture will be able to dry off properly. For the moment, just trying to kind of hold out the storm. We'll see what else we can find. You never know. We've seen 2 leopards this afternoon. It's really great. Some fresh, very fresh elephant dung here. I wouldn't be surprised if we bump into this elephant soon. Some of you saying you missed James too. Oh, there's some more lightning. Justin, you said, how about a tip of the day? Haven't done Byron's tip of the day for a long time. Justin, when you are on safari, always be prepared for rain. Take a raincoat in summer because this could happen very easily. I think that's my tip of the day. I am soaked. I'm really uncomfortable at the moment. A Wahlberg's eagle just flew past us. Oh, Ellie's has found something. Let's quickly link to her.
I wish I had, Byron. I think you praying for rain. Maybe you prayed a little too much. What is that? Maybe we did find something, or perhaps it's absolutely nothing. And it looks like a tree. Are you... Hang on a second. You are moving. What are you? Egyptian geese. I was so excited, hoping that it was going to be the tail of another leopard, but no. It's just some Egyptian geese down in the pan. Obviously, not a leopard or a lion. Sorry. We would show them to you, but they're in a bit of a tricky spot that we unfortunately... The flag. Egyptian geese probably got me this time. So I think we're gonna carry on. I want to explore a different area, see what it looks like now that it's rained. Perhaps even we'll find some more lions there. That would be great. No, that is also just, it seems like out of all of us, Tristan is the one that is feeling the coziest right now, and I wonder if he's...
Well, I don't know if I would call myself cozy, given that I feel like there's a swimming pool in my nether regions, which is not a comfortable situation for anybody at the best of times. Now, I believe, Ashley, you were asking to see a feather under the microscope in the tent. And so, Ashley, I have a feather right here. I put it under the microscope, but I'll put it back there anyway. And it is probably one of the largest feathers we could possibly have found you. So I hope that you like my very big feather. It is rather big and large, and, well, it comes from a leopard-faced vulture. And actually, this feather was found by Tara. So some of you might know Tara, some of you won't. But Tara used to work here, and she came and did a little help out, and she did some freelance work for us in the middle of last year. And she actually found this and left it in the tent for James to have a look at and to play with. So I've now commandeered that and am going to show you all about a feather. Now, you'll notice that we have a big feather like this. Now, this little section here that runs through is called the shaft of the feather. So it is the hardened middle piece, effectively, that holds the feather together and keeps it nice and stable and rigid. And then you'll have all of these kind of parts that come off of it. Now, these are called barbs, and in between the barbs are going to be hooks that run sort of linear to the barbs to try and stitch everything together and keep them in good condition. At the bottom of the feather, you'll have these feathers here. So sorry, let me just turn that around. Over this sort of downy shape kind of or feeling feather, and that's called the after feather, which is right normally at the base of a feather itself. Now, I'm going to put it under the microscope. This particular one, you can't really see the barbs and the hooks too well, but I'll try and explain it to you and show it to you as best that I can. So let's get it in under the microscope. I'm going to have to refocus everything because I think I've messed it up a little bit. Right, so there's the look of a feather. Now, the lines that are running from left to right down, so if they're coming from left running downwards, those are what we call the hooks, and so that is a structural part of the feather. And then in between it, you can see the little barbules that are connecting everything between, so those ribs. So it's all kind of connected, and it's much like a rib effectively. It allows there to be a very solid structure, but it also allows it to be incredibly light. So it's able to kind of, you can see it's actually moving in the wind, so it's catching a bit of a breeze that's blowing through. But it allows it to be very light but very strong, and that's what gives the bird all of its lift. Especially big feathers like this is certainly going to help with lifting a massive bird like a vulture. But how cool is that? Looks very kind of patterny like, doesn't it? Now, let's see if we can have a little look at the sort of after feather. Now, Sinak, I think I got the gist of this. Which bird in the bush has the biggest and smallest feather? Is that right, Kirsty? That is right. Biggest feather would probably... Oh, interesting one. I'm not 100% sure which is big. I'm going to hazard a guess. You can see that this feather is rather large. Now, this would be a very big feather because it comes off a bird that flies. Ostriches will have big feathers, but maybe not as long as this. So their feathers tend to be quite broad, but are pretty useless. They're feathery, and as you know, if you have ever had a feather duster, they don't really do too much. You know, they don't provide any lift, and there's certainly no strength in them. So I would have to say, in terms of length, I would go with probably a Cory bustard. Maybe I'm wrong, I'm not sure, but maybe the primaries of a Cory bustard could be one of them in terms of biggest, or maybe even a Cape vulture or leopard-faced vulture. Maybe the leopard-faced, which is what this is from, could also be a really large one. In terms of the smallest, let's go with what the smallest bird that we have here, little grey penduline tit. I would imagine that they have the smallest feather, but this is a complete guess. I don't know at all, to be honest. I'll try and research it for you while I'm sitting in here, but those would be the guesses that I have for this area. There might be other birds in the world that have slightly bigger or smaller feathers, but for us here in the Sabi sands. Right, I'm going to try and check around and see what else I can find in the tent, see what else there is. If you want me to show something, then you're welcome to send your questions to #SafariLive and just let me know what you want to do in the tent. But while we do that, let's send you back across to Ali, and I believe she's, I think, with some more elephants this afternoon.
Indeed, we have. It seems like today has just been the elephant day for us, and now we're facing a very funny setting. The one on the left is clearly sleeping, and just on the side. So more often than not, you will see the smaller elephants or young elephants sleeping on their sides, whereas the adults, they tend to pretty much sleep standing up. Although they can also lie down, as we don't see them as frequently. Now, I feel like the bedtime playmate has decided that perhaps you are not allowed to sleep anymore. I've let you have your nap, so get up and play with me. Shame. It seems like the small one right in front of us, it's also getting a little bit tired. I'm sure it's not easy trying to keep up with the rest of the herd all the time. And while it may seem as a smaller distance from the mothers and the older siblings, it's definitely very long for somebody that's as tiny as this one. Whew. I think you're struggling to get up. Well done. That was one way of doing that. And all of them around the tiny one, just protecting it. So it's probably the mother and her offspring that are all around the smallest one, as they get very protective in terms of just their familiar nucleus. So all of them around here. I do see more elephants at the back. So what I'm thinking is these are all the females and all the offspring that are strictly related to this one. And then to the left, we've got some more that are also, they're related to the ones on the right, but perhaps not as related. Perhaps the two older ones are sisters. Perhaps it's, you know, it's an aunt and a niece. Could also be all sorts of possibilities. Now, I was convinced that the rain had stopped, but it seems like it's starting again. So we might have a little bit of rain, but at least it's not as bad as it was before. And it's allowed the elephants to calm down, take it easy, and have a bit of a nap. And you haven't stopped eating. Was that bark yummy? Perhaps she is after some sort of sugar or another nutrient that she cannot get from the grass that she's been feeding upon, and that's why she's now decided to eat the bark. But also, if it's really soaked, it's going to be a lot softer than the bark can be at other times of the year. Well, that was one way of getting rid of it. Blue 24. Seeing this little one sleeping, you are inquiring when would it sleep, if it would sleep during the night or if it would sleep during the day. Well, it can be a little bit during the night and a little bit during the day. They won't sleep as we do, whereas, you know, you will have a baby that will sleep throughout the night or perhaps sleep 8 hours or so. Normally they'll sleep a few hours when the family stops to rest in between feeding bouts, and then they'll sleep again later on, and then so on. So it's almost more like intermittent sleep. They will sleep every few hours or so. Now we're witnessing something that's quite interesting. It seems, are you guys going to all walk around, coming our way? Okay. The rain is clearly not of their liking now, and I wonder if they're going to come to this marula to lie in. Are you going to change directions, or are you going to carry on coming here? Walking in a line, but they do not hold tails as some of them do. Alright. I think you probably want to get down this part of the road, so I'm just going to move to allow them to walk past. But don't you start your nonsense, because then it's a battle of the egos, and I can't let you win. Right. I think they are in a bit of an unfortunate situation where it's very rainy and they've got a bunch of youngsters that they've got to look after. So I think we should be considerate of all the moms. Just give them space and allow them to do their thing without feeling that we are in their way. Now, you have changed direction, haven't you? Did you just want to go there all along? Okie dokie. There's a little one. Ah, you nearly tripped. We saw that. I'm impressed that they have not stopped moving. Right, unfortunately they are walking away from our field of view, so it's going to be a little bit tricky following them, and seems like they're just heading onto the thickets. Now, we cannot move around and go in there because there's no way for us to actually see them. So I'm going to carry on down the road, and who knows, it's the elephant day. Perhaps we'll find some more down the road. Perhaps some tawny colored creatures instead of just the big gray ones. But today has been just fantastic with all these elephant herds, and I think the fact that they've got a few little ones has actually kept them in Djuma, which has allowed us to spend more time with them and just see what they get up to. Sometimes it's very refreshing just to see a different creature and see how their nursing abilities are and what actually makes them unique. Now we're going through the mess that they made on the road, and I think it's about time that I start maybe turning on some of the lights, because I'm having a little bit of trouble seeing onto the sides. Still not dark enough for the lights to actually make a difference, so we're just going to carry on without the lights, and we'll turn them on a little bit later, probably when we cannot see anything. I'm sure also it'll be a good time just in a little while to take the spotlight out, and who knows, maybe today will be the day that we get lucky and we start spotting some of those chameleons, perhaps even a very wet owl. sure owls wouldn't be that happy, and most of them would likely go into one of the holes of the trees just to retreat. It's funny because I really cannot see the horizon line. We can just see up to the trees, and normally you're able to see even what's further behind. But now we do have a lot of rain, which is good. I mean, the more rain we can get, the better. I just hope that it's spread out and spaced out in a way that it's not just going to come rushing down and flooding everything, and then that's going to be it. So this type of rain is the type of rain that we need. And I'm sure all the animals are going to enjoy, especially if Gowrie Dam fills up more than what it is now, because it's very, very dry for this time of the year. So I'm hoping all this rain will help pull it up. And that, I'm sure that will help with their general sightings. Maybe Tamba will come for a drink more often. Maybe Hukumuri will actually show his face to me. Many things could happen. Just gotta look into the weather channel and see what's gonna be happening the next days. Blue Cozy, you're wondering if members of an elephant herd ever get kicked out. Well, not technically kicked out as in, you know, one day to the next year the mothers are like, off you go, we don't want to see you ever again. But what will happen is that as the males start getting older, and when they become teenagers, so let's say maybe 12 to 14 years of age or so, they start becoming a little bit too boisterous, and that starts annoying a lot of the females. So they become less and less tolerant of them. But the young boys also get tired of just hanging around, you know, with mom and my sister, and they just start doing their own thing, and then start leaving a gap bigger and bigger between them and the main herd, until eventually that gap is pretty much an eternal gap. And they do their own thing. Because when they're boisterous and they have this behavior, then the females become less and less tolerant, and they push them away and they trumpet. So they almost, you know, like give them the cold shoulder, and then they take the hint. It does take a few years for them to fully get the hint, but they eventually get there. So it's normally the males. The females tend to stay in the herd that they were born in, and they either help raise for example, the calves of their mother, or, you know, their brothers and sisters, until they've got their own, and then they start raising their own tiny little elephants, which are all very cute and we absolutely love. Tristan has got a feather duster, and I wonder what for.
Well, Ali, the reason I have said feather duster is because we were discussing ostrich feathers, and we were saying that they are very different in structure to our lappet-faced vulture feather. So there is the difference. One is obviously attached to a stick and giving it some rigidness, whereas this one is all rigid on its own. And it's actually quite amazing. When you do this with it, you can actually feel the lift that's coming off of this feather. You can imagine a whole bunch of them together and how it actually can lift that bird. Whereas when I do this with the feather duster, all that comes out is about 10 years worth of dust, and it's going to make me sneeze. But I thought we might as well pluck one. Sorry, James, I do apologize that I have just semi-destroyed your feather duster. And you can see the difference in this feather. It's limp. It's not looking very kind of sort of solid, and definitely no flight is going to be capable with a feather like this. So I want to see what this looks like underneath the microscope in comparison to our vulture feather. So let's get it underneath here and have a little look and see. Oh, it actually looks quite cool. Hold on. Let's get it there. And now I'm going to just try and lower the microscope a little bit. There we go. Okie dokie. Now I'm just trying to get it all sorted. So we can actually see the structure of the feather a lot better now. Sorry, Kirst, I'm just trying to get it. There we go. Oh, there's even something living in it. Do you see the little white spot there? Now I need to find a piece of grass to be able to show you the little white spot that I'm talking about. Where's a porcupine quill, Fergus? Ah, we've got a porcupine quill right there. There we go. Porcupine quill will do the job. Now, I've got to try and find it on this actual image. So you'll see a porcupine. Ooh, porcupine quills are going in a little hot, too strong. But there, at the end of the porcupine quill, you see there's some sort of insect or some sort of thing that I'm pretty sure I don't want on me. It almost looks a bit lice-like, doesn't it? Please don't give me lice feather. I don't want to have lice. You can also see various bits of dust and debris from James's cleaning that he's done in the tent, but a very different structure compared to the tightly bound very solid feather of the vulture. It is a lot more hair-like, but you can see those hooks and barbs a lot better on this than you could on the vulture feather. Very cool to see, and it just shows you the difference between certain feathers. One is a flying bird, and one, well, is very big, but isn't a flying bird. Now, I believe that Project Alpha, you were getting involved in the biggest and smallest feather debate, and basically you said that the smallest feathers should be those of a sort of feather next to the beak of a flycatcher. And so those little feathers that stick out, you see them, they almost look like whiskers on flycatchers and nightjars. They've got them, those little pectoral feathers that are there. And so those feathers, I suppose you're right, are the smallest feathers on any of the birds. And I would imagine that it must be one of the very small flycatchers. So maybe something like a Venga flycatcher or a blue mantle flycatcher, one of those might be it. Or I suppose even a paradise flycatcher could be it too. So very interesting kind of thought. I haven't had a chance to get into it just yet. I was about to start researching, but the computer is giving me a hard time, and well, my computer skills are lacking in general. So in terms of the Windows operation, it was not ideal. So I had to fight with that a little bit. Now, I've been looking around for some insects and various other things, but it's starting to rain. It's dark outside, and so really struggling to find anything. What I'm hoping is that because we have lights on and because it is getting dark, hopefully an insect's going to come to us, because I believe, Ali, that you wanted to see an insect under the microscope. Any insect would do. And so I'm going to try and look around. Failing finding a live insect, I think I'll have to pull out one of the dead ones that James has kept in this tent and see if I can't find something there. But I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find something, and I'm sure it will be chaos in here shortly, as Byron, I believe, is starting to make his way this way. But while we wait for Byron's arrival and I find an insect, not Byron, let's send you back across to Ali and see what her plans are for the remainder of the evening.
Well, I think I'm going to do one last big loop around, see if there's anything around, perhaps even a chameleon or a porcupine, or maybe tonight's the night that we're actually going to see a pangolin. That would be first prize. So, with that in hope, I cannot see any of them right now. But I hope there's only just one very crazy impala that's been running down the road, and I'm not too sure what he's up to or what he's seen. I'm not going to shine my spotlight at him, but I'm very puzzled by his behavior, because he came running and now he's carried on running and now he's running some more. So I wonder if he wasn't part of a bachelor herd and then all of a sudden lost all its companions. Huh. Caitlin, you're 11 years old and you would like to see a chameleon tonight. I'm going to try my best to try and find it. Not too sure if the chameleons are going to be happy to be seen in the rain, but we are definitely going to try for them. Now, I'm seeing many shiny little drops of rain, but who knows, maybe one of them will actually lead us to a chameleon, and that would be wonderful. I haven't seen a chameleon in a very long time, so I would enjoy seeing one, because one of the last few ones that I saw was actually a tiny little one at the gate, but that was a while ago, so that one doesn't really count. So here's to us, and perhaps a chameleon. I don't think aardvarks are going to be coming out of their burrows, or porcupines, to be quite honest. I reckon their evening routine is going to start a little bit later, but who knows. Maybe there will be a serval or a caracal or something we've never seen before out in this rain. Who knows? Magic things can happen. So here's to hoping that we don't get even more wet, although at least I'm not cold. At least that's the good thing of this, the particular rain that we've had today, is that it's been so hot and it's carried on being hot, and at least it's not freezing, which is good. This type of rain in the winter time, no thank you. I wouldn't be happy. I would be very cold and suffering. Where are you, creatures of the night? We're looking for any one of you. Any lions or leopards would also be nice. Maybe an unexpected lioness or an unexpected leopard, that would be cool too. Just to add a little bit more drama. It almost seems like the dynamics of all the cats and all the creatures that we know have been put in a blender and they've been shaken, and now nobody knows what's really going on anymore. It's the blender times for the leopard population, more than the lion population. I think we only had a blender day for the lions with the appearance of that lioness, and just as soon as she appeared, then she disappeared. I wonder if maybe she made her way further south following that herd of buffalo, because we know the Incahumas are somewhere around here. Seems like Tristan has managed to find the insect he was looking for, so let's head over to him and find out which one it was.
Well, I didn't find an insect that was alive. I basically had a situation where I just raided all the jars that James has had, and I managed to find us a hawk moth, which is very, very nice. Haven't seen too many of these guys around lately, so it's really nice to have them. Oh, hello, Byron.
Hello, big boss man, Tristan.
There's Byron. Look at him. He's nice and damp. Byron, come give me a hug, Byron. You've got dampness all over you.
Hello, bonjour,
look at you,
everyone. Hello.
There we go,
hello,
Byron. So we're both damp in the tent. It's all fun. It's fun and games.
I'll stand behind the board.
Yes, but there's a chair there if you want to. You can stand behind and just smile. That's all you have to do. You just have to look good.
I swam here as fast as I could.
Did you? Well done, buddy.
Yeah.
But why did you swim when I gave you a raincoat? You had all my raincoats with me. Byron had my jackets, my pants. He could have been dry, but he forgot to listen to what I was saying.
I was following a leopard as the storm hit, so there was no time for.
Well done. How was that? Was that fun?
Yeah, it was good, thank you. Nice to see Tandy again. Pity we didn't see the cub, but yeah, it was interesting. She was looking for food, I think.
You think?
No, well, or the cub, I don't know. She was looking for something.
Well, nice. Very good. Good. But back to our hawk moth. It's nice to have Byron here. We'll get Byron more settled because we can't have the man standing like this. I feel very bad. Byron, we can get rid of this. I think if you can get rid of that while I carry on with the hawk moth, then we'll be able to kind of entertain you, and soon Byron can then take a seat and it will feel all a little bit more comfortable. Otherwise, I feel bad for Byron having to stand like that. Anyway, so we were saying that we have a hawk moth, which I'll try and show you now because I've got the microscope kind of set up for the right thing. But there it is. It's very easy to tell a hawk moth from the others. They have this very sharp, pointy tail end over here, and then they've got this kind of big, bulky forehead going forward with a very large eye, and then these sharp, pointed wings that come off. They're quite crazy looking thing. They almost look like that creature from Neverending Story. What was the name of that creature? Do you remember, Fergus? You good with these things? Harry. Was it Harry? I'm not sure. But there was a creature in Neverending Story that was around. Oh, sorry, what was that, Kirst? His name was Byron. Byron, apparently you were featured in the Never-Ending Story, my friend.
Yeah, that's the dude who rode the bike. Yeah.
Is that the guy that rode the bike? Okay. Yeah, well, let's shove him under the microscope and have a look at what he looks like. He's got beautiful big eyes, so I think the eyes will be what we will focus on. Let's have a look what it looks like. Hold on. I'm going to put him underneath there. Let's see if my skills in microscoping have gotten... Oh, look at that. Look at that. Perfect. Oh, no, don't blow in the wind now. There we go. Stay there. Okay, now I've got to just push his head slightly forward so we can see the front. So please excuse my porcupine quill. There we go. So now what's happened is it's fallen on its back a little bit. But what you can see is the big eyes over there that are all kind of made up of lots of little eyes. So these are compound eyes, lots of little eyes together that form those lenses. And then tucked in underneath this moth's sort of face, you can actually see a gold-colored tongue-like protrusion, which is its proboscis, and that will be how it feeds. And so it will come out and feed off various different fruits and plant materials, and that will pop out, and it's just folded nice and neatly under there. It almost looks like a bird. We were talking about feathers, but it almost looks like it's got feathers if you look at all the little bits of hair and various other things that are on it. Byron, do you like hawk moths?
I do indeed. They're fascinating little creatures.
They are very nice.
You said they feed on fruit. I was going to say fruit, nuts, and mice.
Fruits, nuts, and
I'm sure James would be cringing now if he heard me say that. You all know the story of how we used to tease James and say that everything fed on fruit, nuts, and mice. So, but the hawk moth doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Sorry, it doesn't feed on mice. Well, especially not mice. It would be quite cool to see, though. Imagine a hawk moth hunting mice.
Sure, yeah. You know what? It's great to be in the tent with you. We've never been in the tent
together. We've never been in the
tent
together, and I feel like there's mischief is afoot because getting us in the tent together should be fun, and certainly you have a situation where James is probably not going to like it at all. Fergus, why are you beating me with a lice-infected...
I thought Fergus was knighting me into the tent with...
Into the drone squad. to the drive.
Anyone who messes around.
Yeah.
Discipline. Okay, so we're going to be disciplined if we mess around, apparently. We can see James's other half is here, protecting what's going on. Can't keep the short people out of the tent, but while we do kind of consider what we're going to get up to, let's send you across to Ali, who's braving the rain and is showing the boys up a little bit this afternoon.
Tent with their bromance, as Kirsty says. Must be quite entertaining. I am still searching for a chameleon so that we can find one, but no luck just yet. I am convinced that we will get lucky at some point, but maybe we just have to be a little bit more patient as to when we're going to find a chameleon. Lots of little droplets of water, of rain on the trees and the leaves and the grass that have got me thinking that maybe I found one, but no, not really. So I'm just going to carry on trying. Nothing around here just yet. Seems like the roads are quite deserted. I don't think, besides the elephants, that there's too much that's been traveling in these parts. But who knows, maybe there'll be a little caracal. Ashlyn, you're wondering if there are fireflies or similar things here. Well, yes, they are. And sometimes you can see them when you come out on safari. Particularly the summertime is very good because sometimes there are thousands of them in the sky and it looks very beautiful, especially with the call of the frogs in the background. Talking about frogs in the background, I just want to stop and see if perhaps we managed to get a little bit of the sound that they're making. They're not that close, but let me see if maybe here it works. They're calling too far away. Alright, we're gonna have to find a spot where they're a little bit louder, because it seems like the ones that were calling earlier have now gone shy and quiet. So sure, we'll find another puddle where they're making more noise. And I'm sure the frogs tonight at Tenga's, where we stay, or the house where we live in, are going to be just loving the weather. Whew, I can already hear their concert all the way from here, and I'm not even on quarantine yet. We have very big eastern olive toads, and they are very big, and oh my goodness, so loud. It's almost like sometimes they take it on as a challenge. If we're all talking outside or just making noise, they just decide that they have to prove us wrong and that they are the ones that have the biggest voice. It's almost like a competition between Brent, Taylor and myself. See who can shout the loudest. I feel like maybe that's what we were in another life. Maybe we were just toads. I can almost hear the boys from the tent all the way here, so let's head on to them and find out who would win in a noisy match, Tristan or Byron?
Oh, the answer to that is quite clear. Byron, of course, would win in a match of who could make the most noise. Most certainly, Byron.
Yes,
let's be honest. It's not even a competition between the two of us.
Win at that, I think. I've got a loud voice. My friends always tease me. They say, please try use your inside voice, which I clearly don't have.
No, you don't. I'm sorry. You don't have an inside tent voice either, man. This is very loud, but that's fine. It's good to have a loud voice. It's at least it commands respect, doesn't it?
I think so. I think so. Yeah. Well, one does what one can. You see what happens, I think, now with this rain and putting three guys in the tent, it creates a bit of I don't know. Yeah, like you said, mischief.
Mischief, for sure. Well, Tula Ann agrees with you. Remember Tula Ann?
Tula Ann, how are you? It is wonderful to hear from you again. I missed you because
she says she's glad that the two of us are in the tent. It's her two favorites are in the tent. So Tula Ann, it's lovely to hear from you. It's been a while actually since I've heard from you, and I hope that you are well and that you are enjoying the fact that we are in James's tent, and we'll hopefully not break anything, Tula Ann. And if we do, please don't tell James. We got to try and stay out of trouble. Byron and I get ourselves into it too often.
Yep.
Now, we've run out of things really to find in the tent. There's obviously skulls for days that we can chat about, but I think Byron and I, between the two of us, have probably chatted about every single skull behind us. I know that, I can't remember who it was, Chris, but somebody was asking about a eagle skull. Do we have an eagle skull, Byron? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Brian, you were asking about an eagle skull, but I don't think that was an eagle, but it's changed. This was back in the day when they had, what were those things? When there was a horse crossed with an eagle?
Oh no,
Harry Potter, something. Harry Potter, yes. Not a real thing. No, but I was just saying, come on, we can make things up a little bit.
I'm worried that you guys actually know that. I did not know that.
Well, I got educated in Harry Potter the other day.
Harry Potter fan. One thing I wanted to mention was Ali
Yes.
was saying she wanted to find a. Sorry, there's a moth flying around there.
Find a moth.
No,
okay,
Ellie
sorry.
wanted to find a pangolin.
Yes.
Now, I was thinking exactly the same thing while I was out there. I thought, weather like this
Is pangolin weather.
it's pangolin weather. So
I agree.
I'm hoping, and who knows, maybe
Maybe tomorrow morning?
Maybe tomorrow morning could be a good.
And aardvark too, which I heard you discussing this morning, which was good. Where did you see your aardvark?
So aardvark in Tswalu, in the Kalahari,
Nice,
in southern
yes.
Kalahari, and it was evening like this, a lot of rain.
Okay.
The next morning it was still very cool, and obviously all the termites became very active, and we got to see an aardvark on our early morning drive. Brief view, but it's always wonderful to see those.
A brief view
creatures.
is still a good view.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially on one of them.
aardvark, yeah.
So that's very, very cool. Now, Kirst, I didn't get the name. If you can repeat the name. Cornell, you want to know what the difference is between frogs and toads. Well, here is a frog, here is a toad. That is the difference.
If you kiss me, I turn into a prince.
Oh, goodness. Who is encouraging him? Fergus, I thought you were lunging there for a second. I was about to just move out the tent. I thought things were about to go a bit wild. But no, in all seriousness, yes, there is a winged owlet also flying about here. We'll grab that just now. But in all seriousness, the difference between frogs and toads, I'm going to grab my desiccated friend here. That is a frog. And I'll try and explain with this the major difference and the easiest difference. Now, this is a very sad looking frog. It is obviously not a frog that is alive in any way. It is a mummified frog. But basically the easiest way to tell the difference between them is if you have a look at this frog, the skin on it is very, very smooth. So frog skin, nice and smooth. Toads have dermal bumps, so they have these big ridges all over them, don't they, Byron?
Yes.
Yes, they do, exactly. And so that is probably the easiest way to tell a frog and a toad apart. There are other little subtle differences, but those are probably your easiest ways and the simplest way, really, to tell them apart. And we actually get both here. We get quite a lot. There's going to be a lot of toads coming out tonight, particularly at Inga's pool. We get an eastern olive toad and a guttural toad that occurs in the pool there, and they make more noise than you can possibly imagine. In fact, more noise than Byron makes. So Byron has competition when guttural and eastern olive toads are out and about.
They are incredibly loud. And
Yes.
That's one thing that I always remember. As soon as it would rain around the pools at camp, we'd hear those toads constantly.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Calling.
In fact, actually, I've got the call somewhere here, so I'm going to try and find the call quickly. And while I try to find the call, let's send you back to Ali, and then I'll bring it up, and I can tell you exactly how a guttural toad and a eastern olive toad makes a noise.
Well, hopefully we would be able to see one, at least jumping in front of us on the road, to be able to show what a live looks one. But it seems that the toads are too happy in their puddles on the sides of the road or wherever they might be, and everything else has just...
Leopard.
Leopard, where? Yo, Senzo. Well, you gave me such a fright. No, spotlight.
Spotlight. Where's the
Come
spotlight?
on. Why is the spotlight not working? Okay, where did you see it? Alright, so let's see.
It's not.
It's not a leopard. Are you sure? Is there no possibility? Alright, sorry everyone. We just want to double check to make sure that if there was actually a leopard that we don't miss it. Let's just maybe off-road here a little bit and see if maybe we can see it again. Because if we find a leopard, it'll be wonderful. Senzo, did you see it going any specific way?
Yeah, it's just something like
Okay, something moving in this direction.
yeah, in that
Okay, let's maybe investigate. Hopefully there will be something here. And if not, well, it's always worth checking for leopard. I can't, however, see anything. I know Samba's been around here, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was actually someone. I'm not sure. Alright, let's carry on looking. Right, while we carry on looking for this leopard, and hopefully it's a real one, let's head back to the boys and find out what the story with the toads is.
Well, toads, I haven't gotten there because I got sidetracked. A winged allet flew into the tent over there, and I wanted to show it on the microscope, but it wasn't going to work because it's too feisty. It's a little bit kind of hyped up on the rain. And so this is what a reproductive termite looks like. It's what we call winged allets, and these guys will be out in their hundreds tonight, which is why we were saying that we'll get pangolins and aardvarks coming out, and hopefully we'll be able to spot one. So, I mean, I know Ali's on the lookout for a leopard, but you never know, maybe a pangolin or an aardvark also shows up. But basically what happens is these termites, when the rain starts, come out. Wings are on them so that they can get into different areas, and they are either kings or queens, and they'll meet up and they'll land on the ground and they'll basically then reproduce. And because it's raining, it's easier for them to start excavating out a new termite mound, and so that's why they come out in the rain as opposed to any other time. And hugely good nutrient source. Byron, you want dinner?
No, but you say good nutrients, and my folks, my mom actually, believe it or not, when she was growing up,
She cooked them for you?
No,
okay.
not for me. She cooked them for herself when she was a child.
Really?
Yeah, she grew up on a farm in South Africa, and these alates would come out, and her and her friends would catch them and then fry them and eat them because they're a great source of protein and apparently quite tasty.
I believe peanut butter, like everything.
I don't know about that. I'll ask her. I'll find out if
I've heard
tasted
that
like peanut butter.
that's what I've heard. I've heard that they are very peanut butter tasting. And, well, we're talking about frogs and toads. These guys are going to be a huge meal for many frogs and toads tonight, which will also mean that plenty of snakes will be around because the snakes will come out to feed off the frogs and toads. But getting back to frogs and toads, I said I'd play the guttural toad and eastern olive toad. So this is the guttural toad and the noise that it makes outside Inga's every day. Hold on. So I like this one. This one I like. This I can deal with. Guttural toad also reminds me of fishing. I don't know if you've ever been into the Delstrom area or around those places. Hear them quite a lot that side.
I'm not a big fisherman. Surprisingly, I've never really got into fishing.
Really?
Yeah.
That is a surprise. I thought of all people you might have tried it. What fishing do you do then?
No, I don't.
Right, and then this is the eastern olive toad over here. So this one can really go crazy. And so it doesn't sound too bad when it's just like that. But now you can imagine when you've got 20 to 30 of them in all going absolutely mad and all making a huge amount of a racket outside your bedroom window. It starts to get a little bit much. So Mario, whose snoring in Djuma is the closest to a frog? Ooh. I don't snore though.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Thankfully, I don't know. Actually, you know what? Maybe Drone Commander Fergus.
Fergus, you a snorer?
No, I'm as silent as a...
Silent as a
Dormouse.
mouse, as a dormouse.
Yeah.
Actually, dormice are not silent. We had to raise some the other day, and they are noisy. little
Really?
buggers. Yes,
Oh,
they're
wow.
not silent
Okay,
little
that's
things.
interesting.
They make quite a bit of noise. But I would say, remember Ryan?
I don't know.
Eggsy, yes, Eggsy, I hear. The man under the table,
really?
who is actually not hidden under this table tonight, but he is apparently a very bad snorer. We'll have to ask Brent, and who else shared a room with him in Kenya? Fergus, did you? And what was it like, Fergus? The earthquake. It was a terrific. So there we go. Apparently Eggsy is the most similar to a frog and can tear the roof off a house when he decides to open his mouth at night while sleeping. It's not a nice thing to snore, is it?
No, I don't think so. But I've never complained about my snoring, so I don't think it's that bad.
Of course you. Maybe that's why you're alone, Byron. I don't know. Well. Exactly.
Anyway,
let's move on from that quite
Yes.
quickly. Now, Kirst, you're coming through very soft. I don't know if you were talking to me now.
I've got a really interesting story.
Yeah.
Sorry, just speaking about these alates. And in January, I was in the Timbavati, and after a rainstorm, all these alates came out. And I know a lot of you know those beautiful Emma falcons, what used to be known as the Eastern Red-Footed Kestrel. The Emma falcons, and we must have watched about 30 or 40 of them
Yeah.
dive bombing and catching alates on the
Amazing.
wing and feeding on them. It was amazing to see.
It's crazy
it was
to watch. I've seen it before as well. It is unbelievable.
Ammer falcons, lilac-breasted rollers, fork-tailed drongos, all flying and catching catching alates. We sat there for about half an hour watching them, and next thing we noticed movement on the ground.
Yeah.
And a Pistophthalmus granulatus.
Yeah.
Those beautiful big brown scorpions, burrowing scorpions. 2 of them, they came out and they were catching the alates. And I got wonderful images of them catching the alates. They would sting it quickly and feed and eat all these alates. One of them was actually a female, and she had her babies on the back, which I've never seen before.
That's very cool,
really amazing. I'll show you the images maybe tomorrow on Drive. It was really great to see.
If this carries on, you might be in the tent.
Maybe I'll be in the tent.
Exactly.
That'll give me something to talk about.
There we go. Exactly. So that sounds amazing, though.
Yeah,
it's incredible, though, when these things come out, just the feeding frenzy that takes place, and especially if it's during daylight. It's absolutely unbelievable. I remember a sighting recently on Simamili when I was there, where we had, it must have been easily 50 lesser spotted eagles, common buzzards, Amo falcons, also drongos, just birds everywhere, and they just dive bomb in and they just grab all of these winged alates. It's really quite something to actually watch.
Fascinating, a huge food source for a lot of animals.
Yeah, exactly. I've actually even seen leopards eat these things.
Really?
Yeah, so leopards sitting on the roads, just eating them, I suppose. It's a easy nutrient source.
A lot of protein.
Lots of protein, yes, exactly. And there's one on your neck, by the way. I'm scared Byron might bite me, though. Lunging, he said he was talking about kisses and all kinds of things earlier, so one must be careful when he starts just kind of biting at his shoulder. You never know what's going to happen. But it's getting to that time of the evening where we're going to wrap things up.
Oh, wonderful.
We're going to send Ali home because I think she's braved it much better than what we did.
Thank you, Ali.
Yes.
You did a great
so
job.
Ali did a good job out there, and you did a great job in finding Tundi, so well done. That's always a gold star to anyone that finds a leopard. And well, we had a brief visual of Tingana as well, so that was good, and lots of Ellies once again, which is wonderful. So it seemed like a really good afternoon, and it seems as though we had a good time out there. Hopefully you enjoyed all of it. Hopefully you enjoyed the antics in the tent to finish up this evening. So it's been a really absolute pleasure from Byron and Ali and Kirsty and FC, Fergus, VM and Senzo and myself. So that's everybody.
Good night. Goodbye.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you all tomorrow on the Sunrise Safari.